This is Cashflow Ninja, episode 80 with Reed Goossens.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Now, here is your host, MC Laubscher.
Hello everyone, MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. In today's episode, we're going to look how foreigners can start investing in the United States. And more specifically, how foreigners can start investing in real estate in the United States. My guest today is Reed Goossens. Reed moved to the United States in 2012 to pursue a career in structural engineering. However, he discovered a passion for real estate investing. With limited funds and no credit, Reed went from purchasing a small duplex to growing his own real estate investing firm, RSN Property Group. Reed now syndicates large multi-million-dollar deals across the United States. Reed is also the host of the up-and-coming podcast, Investing in the U.S., an Aussie's Guide to U.S. Real Estate, wherein he invites other distinguished real estate investors and entrepreneurs to speak with them about their success and help guide other international investors who want to successfully invest in the United States. Please share your feedback and thoughts on today's interview. You can let me know your thoughts on Twitter and tweet me at MC Laubscher or by email info@cashflowninja.com. And please remember to join our mailing list by signing up at cashflowninja.com or texting Cashflow Ninja, one word, all capitalized, to 44222. That's 2 4s and 3 2s. As some of my listeners may know, I live in Newtown, Pennsylvania, a town that's about 45 minutes away from Philadelphia, the birthplace of the United States, the home of the cheesesteak, the Rocky Steps, and also the hometown of the beloved founding father, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin believed an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, and early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. The Cashflow Ninja have aligned itself with partners that aims to empower you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Our healthy partner on it provides supplements, nutrient-dense and earth-grown foods, and fitness equipment to help you achieve your next level of well-being and total human optimization. Our listeners can get a 10% discount with coupon code GETONIT at cashflowninjahealth.com. Our wealthy partner Fundrise gives everyone the opportunity to invest directly in high-quality real estate without the middleman. Fundrise makes the process of investing in the highest quality commercial real estate from around the country simple, efficient, and transparent. You can get started with as little as $1,000 and do not have to be an accredited investor to participate in some of their offerings. You can check them out at cashflowninjawealth.com. And don't forget our wise partner Audible. You can download any audiobook for free when you try Audible for 30 days. You can download your free audiobook at cashflowninjabook.com.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur on Fire, and you're listening to the Cashflow Ninja podcast with your host, MC Laubscher. You must be prepared to ignite.
Reed, welcome to the show.
G'day, MC. How's it going, mate?
Can you share a little bit about your background and your journey as an entrepreneur and real estate investor with my audience?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, as your audience probably already knows, you and I are both not from this country. We live in this country. We do a lot of business here. But my story really starts back in 2009. I'd done a bit of backpacking throughout the United States, had returned back to Australia after being away for a couple of years, and I was my background's in structural engineering, and I'd graduated, was at a day job. And I was sort of looking at myself saying, I can't be in this cubicle for the next 40 years of my life. I was, 25, 26 years old. And I just thought, this can't be the answer. This just can't be, I can't be working for a corporation being, feel like a very small cog in the big machine. So I was definitely I felt like I had more to give. So what I went through a period of time of trying to find what that giving was, or what that inner desire was to become, and that was an entrepreneur. And I didn't know it at the time, and I didn't know that I wanted to get involved in real estate. But what I did know is that I needed to get my money working for me. So I started educating myself on different forms of making your money work for you from investing in the stock market to investing in real estate. And real estate really struck a chord with me because I was a structural engineer working on some very, very large projects. I've worked in London for the 2012 games back in 2008. I've worked, all over the world: New York, London, England, Australia, Fiji, Thailand, and everywhere I went, I saw these big developers making a lot of money, but I didn't understand how they made. How was I forming this team, this structural engineering team, to build them their project? So I really started educating myself on the investment side, and that's where I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that book changed my life completely. And so from there, in 2009, I was living in Australia, and I was I started consuming as much knowledge as I could. I went to seminars, boot camps, gurus, all the stuff that you have here in the United States. At the same time, I had also met when I was backpacking in 2009 throughout the United States, I actually met an American girl who moved to Australia to do university, and we ended up dating. And after she'd finished her university masters, we in 2011 we packed up our lives and moved back to New York City, because New York City was the sort of, it's got this hunger about it, and I really wanted to live there. You walk down the street of New York City and you think you're killing it in life, and you look across the street and there's some 21-year-old Facebook CEO who's a billionaire, and so I really had the drive to live in New York City. And so in 2011, we packed up our stuff and moved halfway across the world. And now I'm here investing in real estate. So that's a little bit about how I've got to where I am, and I can elaborate a little bit more if you want.
Being also not from this country, I understand when you start out over here. So, Reed, when you started your investing career, obviously credit is a problem here.
Right.
It takes some time for us to establish that. And then there's some limited funds as well. But how did you get started investing in real estate?
Yeah, well, just to backtrack just slightly, I remember when I first landed in New York City, I was within the first 2 weeks, I was at my first real estate networking event in NYC. And I thought real estate networking in Australia was awesome, but by gosh, real estate networking in New York City was like on steroids. It blew my mind. And through those networking events, I was able to educate myself on US real estate. And that was probably the first thing I had to do, right, MC? It wasn't just like Australian real estate and American real estate is completely different. And the barriers to entry here in the United States are a lot lower. So educating myself on lingo, stuff like that. And once I had got to a point after about 6 months of educating myself, reading more American-based books and investing, I was ready to pull the trigger. And I had a bit of analysis paralysis. And that's when I sort of came across I don't have any credit. I don't have money. I had money, but I couldn't leverage that money. So I had to purchase my first deal all cash. And that first deal, what I did was, by purchasing it all cash, I opened up a bank account in the little town that the property was based, which was in Syracuse in upstate New York, because I could drive to that market, and it was cheap for me. I had $50,000 and I could buy a $35,000 duplex or triplex. So over a period of like six to 7 months, I was depositing, or my property manager was depositing rental checks into the bank account that I'd set up at the local bank, the local credit union. And over that period of time, I was able to establish, even though my credit wasn't skyrocketing as quickly as I'd like, I was able to establish with that local bank that I was showing that this property was producing income. And then from that, I was able to refi some of my money out of it, plus get a line of credit. And I was able to purchase property number 2. And then over a period, another 6 months, I saved up some more money and purchased property number 3. So within a period of about 18 months, just using a bit of time and proof that these income properties were producing some income, some significant income, I was able to show the local bank, and this is key here to all your listeners out there. If you are investing here in the United States and you have bad credit, establishing relationships with the local branch manager is very, very important. I found that hugely helpful in my career. They wanted to help me. I became friends with them, and they were like, "Yeah, well, sure, we would love to lend or help, refi some money out of your portfolio." So that's how I got my feet wet here in the United States.
And that was a local bank in the town, not a very large national, international brand, right?
That's correct, yeah. And part of what my business today, MC, is that I help international investors get access to financing, access to different types of, or just understanding the process that you have to go through as an international investor to buy US real estate. And one of the major hurdles, obviously, is financing. And I can jump into it, but the major thing is establishing those local relationships with those local banks.
Yeah, let's jump into the financing a little bit while we're on it. Can you share a little bit just some of the steps that you do help foreign investors with in establishing and creating some financing for their projects?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of options out there, and people, the number one thing, like I thought when I first moved here, because let's face it, even though I was here on a visa and all that good stuff, and I was legally in the country, had a social security number, I was still sort of viewed by the bank as like a foreign investor. If you don't have credit, you essentially you're invisible. So I tell all my international investors that there are four or five options out there for them. And the first one is really about high net worth individuals. If they have a portfolio of real estate in their home country that is worth $1 million or more, banks like HSBC and Goldman Sachs definitely can leverage against those existing portfolio. The catch-22 is that you have to be putting down a significant amount of down payment, I think in the order of $300,000 to $400,000. Now, if you're putting down $300,000 to $400,000, you're probably buying a large multifamily or a very luxurious house in the Beverly Hills here in LA. So that's sort of number one, and they're pretty competitive interest rates. If you're a high net worth individual, things become a lot easier. But I've dealt with a few of my clients who hit that category, and it's a different realm. So I'm not going to go too much into it. The big banks here in the United States, they do. Some banks do lend to foreign investors, but there is a time and processing issue. And if you want to act quickly, it's not really the best way to go about it. Plus, the interest rates are a little higher. So in combination of being slow and high interest rates, is sort of, there's no point there's no point, but it may be used as a secondary option once you've got into a deal, and maybe in 12 months' time you can refinance out and with some cheaper debt. The third option, which is really, really handy if you, depending on your investment strategy, is obviously hard money. And hard money is, as you know, MC, it is really based, it's a locale-based investing, investors or group of investors who lend against the asset itself. And that's very, very beneficial for some investors internationally, because they don't look at you, the borrower, as much. They look more at the asset. Yes, interest rates are higher, but they do act quickly. And there may be an investment strategy where you're buying a distressed property, you put in some tender love and care, and in the period of 6 to 12 months, and use the strategy that I said before about developing local relationships with your bank. In 12 months' time, you could, refinance that hard money out with a local, with some cheaper debt, and from the relationships you established with your local bank. The final one is also, which I love, and we'll get into it in a little bit, is obviously partnering with a local person on the ground and leveraging their credit, leveraging their ability to get financing, and I like to call it syndication. But it's essentially leveraging a local American-based investor, and that you can partner with them, and it becomes a lot easier. So they're the sort of four steps.
Yeah, and Reed, you had mentioned besides obviously the self-education and educating yourself, the different lingo and obviously the different market and how the real estate market works here and the differences between the market back in Aussie and the United States, you found a mentor very early on to help you get started. Can you speak to the power that this mentor played in your success and just your overall view of the importance of mentors?
MC, mentorship is honestly been the linchpin to my success since I've been here been here for 5 years now. Really, what happened was I saw the power of investing in small multifamily. I got to a point where I ran out of my own money, like we all do, and I wanted to scale my business. I wanted to keep growing. I saw that if I went into a small duplex, I put it in some tender love and care, I was able to increase rents, and by increasing rents, I was able to increase the cash flow. Now, I thought this is great on a duplex or a triplex, but what about if I could do it on 70 units or 100 units? But I didn't know how to make that transition from essentially residential real estate into commercial. So I needed to get a mentor, and I found a mentor back in 2013. And I was really focused on trying to raise capital from other investors, OPM, and develop a syndication brand to help me then, leverage other people's money to then buy or co-invest with me in my larger deals. Mentorship is just, as I said, the most important thing. Surround yourself with people who know what they've done, who know what they're doing, and who have experience. Because when you start raising capital, one of the biggest things is experience, and we're not all born with 20 years worth of real estate investing experience. So leveraging mentors, leveraging other people in your sphere is very, very, very important. And I can't speak more highly of getting a good mentor who's actually doing who's actually doing real estate. Because obviously, I'm sure UMC and I've spent a lot of money on going to real estate gurus who claim to have done a lot of stuff back in 2003, but the fact it's in 2016, I'm like, show me your balance, right? Like I wanted someone who was credible and actually out there doing stuff and getting it done, as I like to say.
No, that's so important. And to your point, I think just from my experience, I learned more just in an office working for a very, very wealthy real estate investor, and seeing, obviously, getting his mentorship from him, than all the gurus that you just mentioned. So it's very, very important. Now, Reed, you're involved in real estate syndications, as you've mentioned. Can you tell my listeners what a real estate syndication is and share some of your secrets to a successful real estate syndication?
Yeah, sure. So, as I sort of just alluded to before, think of Facebook, think of Google, think of all the big companies out there. Their founders didn't just have a ton of capital that they were sitting on to help grow their business. They also got to a point where they had a great idea and they needed funding. And they then went out to investors and said, hey, I've got this great idea. Let's pool our money together and let's grow this business. Well, it's the same idea in real estate syndication, except our business is buying large multifamily apartments. So unlike the tech startup world, I can prove to my investors that a particular property may earn a certain amount of cash flow and have a certain return on an investment over a period of time. So it's really just sort of pooling investors' money together, and buying a larger asset that maybe myself as an individual couldn't take down. So think of it like an airplane. To hire an airplane to get from New York to Newtown, Pennsylvania, where you're from, MC, it'd cost a lot of money if you're just one single person. But if you distribute or split up the cost of that aircraft amongst the passengers, then we all can contribute. We all can benefit from getting from point A to point B, and that's the same as real estate syndication.
Let's talk about some of the steps of real estate syndication. So you go out there, obviously, as an investor, you've got systems and processes in place for identifying deals and finding properties. How do you develop that pool of investors that eventually participate in this real estate syndication? And what are some of the steps after you found the deal, you have an investors moving forward of actually putting this deal into place and moving forward from there? Yeah,
another great question, mate. And people just think, money's out there, and money is out there to be placed in real estate or in any sort of deals, whether it be business or whether it be real estate. And as a syndicate, it's really your ability, or you need to act as the conduit between investors who want to rent their money out and have a really good return on their investment, and your deals. A syndicator is a person who has access to great deals, has a team of people that can help them find those great deals. So the way that you need to be that person or that key person of influence is to brand yourself in a way that they will look at you and say, okay, this person knows what he's talking about. I trust him. And that's very, very key when you start out, is people will invest in your real estate deals or in a syndicating deal really more based on your story and if they trust you. So having that personal brand, having a logo, having a website, doing podcasts, writing blogs, being a key person of influence. And you might think, oh, well, that's a lot of work. Well, yes, it is a lot of work, but because you're raising capital from other people, then it's very, very important to know that you need to treat their capital better than you treat your own capital. And to develop that trust and transparency and credibility, there's some specific steps that I like to teach my investors how to actually get across that they are credible. And one of them is partnering with mentors. A second one is, obviously developing a website, developing a logo, developing a brand. And the third one is developing a pitch deck, a sample pitch deck where you can take it to a potential meeting with an investor and say, hey, look at this great pitch deck that I put together. I'm partnering with these 4 people who have over 20 years experience. I brought this team together. This is a type of deal. Would you be interested? And it's about those conversations happening over a period of time that you slowly start developing your database. And then when you do find a deal, you can hopefully go back to that database and say, well, hey, look, guys, I've got a deal that meets your investment criteria. Let's move forward to the next step.
Yeah, and it's so important too, and we've touched about mentorship early in this conversation too, but that is so key if you have developed the skill set in analyzing properties and invested in yourself, increase your financial education, you're looking at deals constantly, and eventually you find that deal, taking that to investors, if you have that mentor with you, to be able to say, listen, this is the deal that I found. I do not have experience in doing this, but my mentor, so-and-so, has done X amount of these deals. I mean, it just gives us so much more credibility. Right. To that, and not just with real estate, looking at all types of investments that I think are just think in general too. If you know that there's someone is involved that's already had a very, very successful track record of success in investing, it really does make it a lot easier. Besides the great deal, obviously, that's let's put the horse before the cart here, right?
Yeah. But I will say that people who say, well, if you've got a great deal, you'll find money. Well, I'll say to those people, you probably never raised a bloody penny in your life. Because, when you're first starting out, it's really, really important to say people invest in you. And if you can't show that track record or that team around you, then it's going to be hard. And trust me, I've been there. My first deal was bloody hard to get the thing over the line. We got it there, and I only raised a portion of the capital, but I was still involved at 250 units, and it was tough. And it gets easier. It's like a snowball. It will get easier, but it goes back to personal branding. It goes back to making sure you're investing in your own personal content and becoming a key person of influence or a person of influence in your sphere.
Let's talk about building a team too, because you've got some really good insights just on how to develop a team to execute that vision and plan that you have. What are some of the secrets to building a team packed with all-stars around you?
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? There's so many steps to syndication and raising money, and like any business, you need a good team around you, and particularly if you're investing out of state. And what I like to, because I help international investors buy US real estate, it's about investing in a foreign country. So the team members that I like to have on my team is, making sure your property manager is the most important person in your team. They are your eyes and ears on the ground to make sure that you execute the deal correctly, or the deal is being executed correctly. So I definitely vet my property manager, to the nth degree to make sure that they're worth their weight in gold, and they're not going to pull the wool over my eyes. Particularly if I live in LA, and I invest in Texas. So I'll go down there once a month or once every 6 weeks. But in that period between that, I want to make sure that they're doing their job, and I'm acting as the asset manager. So having a good, solid property manager on your team is very, very key. I like to ping them and ask them questions about their processes. How they evict tenants, what's the type of track record that they have, because you want to see that if they're managing a 50-unit property, that they've had experience managing a 50-unit property. They don't just have experience managing single families. I also want to see that their bidding process, if they have, if the issues come up with the property and it needs to be fixed and it's a significant amount of money, are they getting 3 bids, or are they just going to their best mate and giving them the work and inflating the price? So I really, really like to vet my property manager. Another obviously really key person is a broker, a local broker in a market, and building credibility with a broker there's no rocket science behind it. There's no silver bullet. It really is. If you reach out to a broker and you close on a deal, they're going to keep coming back to you again and again and again, because you prove that you've closed on a deal, and they're going to start giving you pocket listings, and the deal flow will increase. I know a lot of people out there have a lot of trouble getting credibility with brokers. And there's nothing special about it. It's just about making those phone calls and then actually executing on a deal. The other person I like is obviously a GC, a general contractor. It might not be a part of the property manager. It might just be someone that you may, particularly on larger buildings, like with we just closed on 296 units. I always like to have a property manager, a GC walk the property with me just to make sure that I may not see something that he may see. And in terms of code violations, I also like to make sure that he's there just to advise me on what I need to be doing and spending, make sure that I don't have any issues with the city. And the last person on my team is obviously a financing person. But it doesn't have to be in the area where I'm investing, but maybe in the state, someone that I can go to once I have found a deal, and they can help me get some really good debt on the property, and we can go ahead and execute.
No, there's a lot of gold in some of those points. One of the things that I also want to point out from personal experience when I started my career in real estate, as part of an acquisition team for a very successful private investor, what we did in that office too is obviously a lot of syndication, but you've mentioned pocket listings. Mm-hmm. So if a deal comes in and we're not grabbing that deal, we knew exactly who to take it to. That never, ever got listed.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know how many, there was not a lot of listings done in that office because the deals come in and we know exactly what investor is going to take that if we don't want it. So definitely a very, very important person to have part of your team. Reed, now what markets do you currently invest in the U.S. and why?
So I cut my teeth on in upstate New York just because I could drive when I was living in New York back in 2011 to 2013. I've invested in Philadelphia. I've done a few house flips there. I've sold those. I like the Philadelphia market, but from a large multifamily aspect, Philly may not be the state. I do like it for ground up construction in Philadelphia. There's the city to get approvals by the city. It's pretty quick. My main investing is happening in Texas. I'm invested in Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth. I'm looking at markets San Antonio and Kansas City. And I've developed through my own podcast and network, I've started to develop my own teams or leverage other people's teams in other people's markets. And what does that mean? Well, as you start developing your brand and whatnot, people will approach you and say, "Hey, Reed, I've got a deal here in XYZ." It's like, well, hang on, I need to vet you first. And if I vet the person and I trust them and I trust their teams on the ground, it just means that my ability as a syndicator, I don't have to go and reinvent the wheel and have to start all over again and developing that team. So I do like to look at other markets. Kansas City is one of them. As San Antonio is a new market I'm looking at. I do like Albuquerque, New Mexico as well. That's another person in my close sphere that has just started investing out there, and he's built out his team. So I'll leverage him. So they're the sort of 5 to 6 markets that I'm looking at right now. And I'm always keen to look at any market. Or any deal, I should say. I look at the deal, make sure it works, and then I look at the market to make sure the metrics are there and it meets my criteria.
What are you seeing overall in the? I know real estate is obviously a local thing to geography, but from a national standpoint, in what state do you think the current real estate market is?
Yeah, I think I look at it, and I'm going to get real technical here, but I look at it as a point of view of depending on what you want. Here in LA right now, existing assets are trading at higher than the cost of replacement. So there's a lot of ground up construction happening. In Texas, existing assets are trading less than the cost of construction, depending on what submarket you're in. And that's what I like to call tier 1 and tier 2 cities. So in the tier 1 cities, yeah, it's very frothy right now. There's a lot of movement, a lot of real estate. There's a lot of demand. So when there's a lot of demand for product, there's a lot of supply, and construction is hitting the market. That also means we're at a certain point in the cycle. And if you follow cycles, then you will know that that is at a point where we're towards the top. And then in other markets like Dallas, Fort Worth, I'm seeing that it's very, very frothy in the multifamily investing game. And a lot of people, every man and their dog, are trying to get into repositioning multifamily. So, depending on your investment risk and your investment appetite, There may be potential to do. I'm looking at some small some land developments in Houston. I always want to have my cash flowing deals coming through the door, but I also want to make sure that I'm having a lot of capital. So I'm diversifying a little bit. I'm looking at other types of assets like mobile home parks and storage units for where it may not be as frothy as the multifamily game, because it is very, very hard to find a cracking deal right now in those markets that I'm investing in. Overall, I think there will be some sort of correction or some, not correction, but some sort of dip. And I don't have a crystal ball. But obviously with the new presidential election, everyone's sort of is waiting with bated breath to see how this is going to play out and how this is going to affect the markets and in fact affect interest rates. And if interest rates will go up, I'm sure they will, and how that will affect, borrowing and lending and spending and all that good stuff.
Now, Reed, one habit I've observed from wealthy and successful people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skills. What are you currently studying, and what new skill sets are you currently learning?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm actually doing a little bit more, focusing more on meditation, and it's going to sound a little free. I'm focusing a little bit more on meditation and developing my systems within my business, because I've obviously learned. I'm not saying I've learned and I've come and arrived. I need to continue learning in real estate, but there's come to a point where I need to expand my team, and expanding my team means that I need to bring on more employees. I need to develop my systems, and I need to allocate tasks. And being a person like an entrepreneur, where you hold it all together and you don't want to let anyone, it's your baby, it's your product. You don't want to let anyone else, touch it. you got to get better at like just distributing it out to people, because I've only got 24 hours in the day, and I'm only one human, so I don't want to spread myself too thin and then let things fall through the cracks. So right now I'm really working on mindset and to help me scale my business and developing out my team.
No, very, very important. It's a lesson that I learned too, and I had the exact same feeling too. It's tough to let go of it, but you have to in order to keep growing and developing your business.
100%.
Now, a core message in our show is to leave our families, communities, and the world better than we found it by passing down a mindset, values, and principles to future generations, not just money. So if you cannot pass on any money to future generations, and we're only allowed to pass on 3 principles to them to build wealth and achieve happiness and success, what would they be?
The biggest, I remember my dad, he said to me one day when I was little, a fool and their money is easily parted. And what does that mean? I've taken a lot of steps out of that, and I would bestow the same knowledge to my future generation. So it really means education. Educate yourself on how to implement your money into certain investments. And education is the key to anything. So that's the first one. The second one is obviously doing the right thing. I've always a big believer in karma. You do the right thing to someone, it'll come back to you in spades. So not always expecting, your handout. A lot of people go around this world and they have the handout first, saying, pay me first and then I'll give you my advice or whatever it might be. I'm always about trying to help people where I can and help them get to the next stage. So it's always be willing to give your time up. And the third one is never give up. That's probably a big one. A lot of people, entrepreneurs, about real estate investing or just in entrepreneurship in general, it's hard. It's a lonely game when you're out there doing it yourself. Just don't give up. And the advice to future generations is that if you are passionate about something and you know that it will work and you have the belief that it will work, then keep going. Don't give up. So they're the 3.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Reed, what you've mentioned Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Are there any other books that you would recommend to my listeners?
Yeah, How to Pitch Anything is a good book. I can't remember the author of that book. I read that a few years ago. And Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's the 2 books that I really, really like. Right now, I'm actually writing my own book, so I haven't spent as much time reading. I've been more writing, which is a little bit harder to be on the author side than it is to be on the readership side. So they're the 2 books I really, really enjoy.
Awesome. Well, definitely keep us posted about your book and when it becomes available. And
will do.
I'll share that with my listeners too. Now, Reed, how can my audience learn more about you and your company, your podcast, and just keep informed of all the projects that you're involved with?
Yeah, so my company that I founded is RSN Property Group. I have a podcast on that. So if you go to rsnpropertygroup.com, that's R for Roger, S for Sam, N for Nancy. Click on the podcast link, and I have a podcast called Investing in the US, and it's an Aussie's Guide to US Real Estate. So it's really my guide to international investors to say, hey, these are the pitfalls, watch out for them, and this is how you can benefit from investing here in the United States. There's great currency, stable government, and you get good yield. So that's where you can hit me up. You can reach me. And if you want to hit me up and you're ever in LA and you want to jump out for a beer or a coffee or some lunch, then you can shoot me an email at Reed, R-E-E-D, at rsnpropertygroup.com.
Fantastic. Reed, well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your knowledge and providing so much value to my listeners. Had a fantastic time and had a blast.
Cheers, mate.
Hi, this is MC Laubscher, the host of the Cashflow Ninja podcast. As you may know, I'm also the president and chief wealth strategist of Valhalla Wealth Financial. We help individuals, families, small businesses, entrepreneurs, and professionals build their wealth outside of Wall Street and help investors maximize the use of every dollar in their personal economy and boost their investment gains. We do this by combining their capital and investments with the financial vehicle of the wealthy, according to the infinite banking concept. If you are interested in learning more, you can email me at info@cashflowninja.com and I will send you a copy of Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Thank you for joining me and my guest, Reed Goossens from RSN Property Group on the Cashflow Ninja podcast today. If you like a complimentary copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie that Reed recommended in our interview, you can text FRIENDS, all capitalized, to 44222. That's FRIENDS to 44222. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes and share our show with friends, family, and your network. I really have been humbled by your support and feedback. I love getting those emails from you guys. And as always, if there's any way that I could provide more value to you and serve you better, please reach out to me and email me at info@cashflowninja.com. Please don't forget to take advantage from the offers of our partners that aims to empower you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Our healthy partner on it provides supplements, nutrient-dense and earth-grown foods, and fitness equipment to help you achieve your next level of well-being and total human optimization. Our listeners can get a 10% discount with coupon code GETONIT at cashflowninjahealth.com. Our wealthy partner Fundrise gives everyone the opportunity to invest directly in high-quality real estate without the middleman. Fundrise makes the process of investing in the highest quality commercial real estate from around the country simple, efficient, and transparent. You can get started with as little as $1,000 and do not have to be an accredited investor to participate in some of their offerings. You can check them out at cashflowninjawealth.com. And don't forget our wise partner Audible. You can download any audiobook for free when you try Audible for 30 days. You can download your free audiobook at cashflowninjabook.com. That's our show for today, everyone. Until next time, be amazing and live a life of passion and purpose on your terms.
You have been listening to the Cashflow Ninja with your host, MC Laubscher, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Today's show notes and resources are available on our website, cashflowninja.com. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objective, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.